All right. Maybe I'll just mention a few things. In this case, you can Venn diagram questions, sets questions. Out of all, you want to kind of read through maybe all of the questions first before you start. And the reason why I'm saying is because you don't always know what your Venn diagram is going to look like necessarily, but there are hints in the question that kind of give it away. So, when I asked you to check, like add up the numbers and see if if it surpasses your universal, there's an overlap, right? You know that something is being double counted and you adding this. But if we did add this, it was less than 35. But if you kept reading, or if you just read the question, I should say, right here, it does tell you that there's an overlap. So this is an overlap. This isn't just a set. This is actually, so you're guaranteed by this statement right here that there's going to be that these sets are joined. So that's probably the first thing I would say is like read. And maybe the question, maybe it's not in here, maybe it's going to ask you down the road, it's like, how many students do both? It's like, oh, well, obviously that means that there's an overlap, right? And I'll tell you that most sets overlap. If it's disjoint, it will be quite obvious. So keep that in mind, right? Another thing I want you to, if you go to page 17, 17 students liked summer only. The notation here, right? I did mention it, I think, but if you read this, if it says only, it's saying summer, but not winter. Okay, that is 17. So when you see that keyword, it's just that little crescent here. And I will tell you that in some instances, it will say 17 students like summer, but not winter. That's another way of stating that exact same thing. Okay. So what I would say is, with the information given, enter what you know, like plug it in. If you know for sure that 17 goes here, plug it in there. We were given the and region, right? This is the intersection. We were given the outliers, right? Neither do not like either season, or neither of the five like either one. So that goes there. And then we used, I will say this formula can be applied, but sometimes when you set this up, you're going to realize I don't have enough information. When that happens, just look at what is in here and try to figure out, can you perhaps come up with what's missing by just looking at this?
Attention all staff and students. Attention all staff and students. Activate.
Every once in a while, you have to see if you're going to leave the rooms, right? What else was I going to say about this? One last thing, when you fill in your Venn diagram, try to see if everything in here is filled in except for one of these regions. So it could be this is missing, or this is missing, or in this case, that was the piece missing. Everything else is given. Like, I'm talking specific sections in this diagram. If you know anything but one, you can actually figure it out, right? You just take your universal, subtract the numbers that are given, and whatever is left, right, is going to be that difference. That is the easiest way to do it. You don't have to, like, yeah, of course, sometimes I'll make it so that you have to use this pi, right? But it doesn't have to. If you're able to fill in, and I'm talking specific right? Like, so this part, this part, this part, and then so just one of these is missing, you can easily find it. Just take your universal, subtract what you know, and then bingo, you have what's left. But you got to be careful, because some students, when I say, 28 students like summer, they might put it in here, and that's not true. If it's just a blank statement saying 28 like summer, it's not saying that they don't like winter or anything. It's just summer, so it's inside that big circle. So that number goes outside right here. That is not one of the numbers I'm talking about, right? It's only if you know specific sections inside the diagrams, right? If you know the big numbers here, chances are this is going to solve your problem, right? Using this formula. Anything else? Kamal, do you have anything? Does that help? So you don't have to use pi, but it is there for you to use. I still want you to show me work though. In case you make a mistake, if I can see that it's just like a transcript error, you just copy down the wrong number, half mark off, right? If I see that you don't know what you're doing, if I can't find out how you came up with that number, then it'd be more of a deduction there. I remember not, right? Something not is the easiest way. I think I wrote it down. I reminded you of that formula. Let me just make sure you have it. Because it would be on this. Yeah, here. This is the standard way of finding the number of elements that are not in the one you want, right? So this is also known as the complement. So remember that.
So if we have the answer, do we have to do like the unit sentence? You know what I mean? Like the units of people, like for the winter one?
Yeah.
You put 2 people.
Yeah, I would like, yeah, put people or students or passengers or whatever the case may be. Yeah, I would like that. All right. Okay. So if there are no other questions, okay. We'll do AC. It's AC time. Yeah, I'll probably have to refresh these concepts. But prime is a number that can only be divided by 1 or itself, right? So 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11 would be the next one. But if you just have the first few, and then this is what I'm really looking for, the fact that it's infinite, right? So 1 mark for that. I'd say if you have the 1 or more wrong numbers in there, I'd say -1. If it's only 1 mistake, then half, right? Let A be the set that represents all factors of 24. So I start with capital A, and so all numbers that make up 24. So right, so it's 1 and 24 would give me that. 4 times 6, 3 times 8, right? So I'm just thinking basically the best way to do this one is just to see, does 2 go into 24? Yes. 3 goes into 24, yes, right? Because if it goes into it, then there's something you can multiply it by to get that number. Okay, so these are the factors here. So there should be 2, 4, 6, 8 factors in there. If you're missing 1, take off half. If it's more than 1 that you're missing, we'll go -1 today, okay? B is a set of even numbers between 1 and 10. I don't know if you picked up on this, the exclusive part. It means that 1 and 10 is not included, so it's 2, 4, 6, 8. So if you miss that, if you do have the 10 in there, just take off half. Let T be all the multiples of 12 between 10 and 50. So 12, right? You start with 12 and then you go up by 12. That's a mark as well. So everything is going to be worth a mark here. I be the set of all integers less than 5. So you just give me an indication that you know, and it doesn't have to be this many numbers. Yeah. It never happened. And it's not on record. Thank you. Less than 5, correct. Has to be less than 5. -1 for Mr. Dirksen, right? 1 there. So I think what I'm really looking for is this, like the dot dot, like it goes into the negatives forever. Just has to be less than 5, but it goes to the negatives forever. You don't have to have as many values here. I would honestly, if you said 4, 3, 2, dot dot dot, I would take that too, just an indication that it's going into the negatives, right? J is represents all months that start with a J. So there you have January, July, June, and it has to be in alphabetical order, right? So in this order. So if you miss that, take off half. And the primary colors, there are 3 basically main concepts of primary colors. I looked it up. It's not necessarily only, so whichever combination of 3 you've used, just make sure it's in alphabetical order and then you're fine. I'll be okay there. Okay, which questions from the above represent infinite sets? And it would be P, the prime, and the integers, right? These two are infinite. Using proper notation, which set is a subset of another? And this is where I guess if you included the 10 here, you wouldn't see it, but B is a subset of A. Right? Every single number in B also shows up in A. So that's the proper notation there. Calculate n of A, that'd be 8. And here I would be lenient. Like if you made a mistake in A, let's not take marks off again, right? Just technically you're doing it right. It just has to match the number of elements you have in A. T obviously is just 4. That one, I think you should have that correct. Again, I wouldn't take off marks again if you made a mistake there. Calculate n of A or T. So it's the union, right? You're basically uniting the sets. So you can use this formula, n of A, n of T minus what they have in common, the ones that they share. And I'm going to use my highlighter for this one. So if you look at A and T, these two, 12 is there, right? And so is 24. So these would be kind of like the ones that they share on the Venn diagram. So you wouldn't want to double count. You don't have repeats, right? So you go 8 plus 4 minus 2. As long as you came up with 10, you're fine. If it's not 10, that's a minus 1. True or false? Set A and T are disjoint. And that's false, because if you look at A and T, this should give you a hint, go back and check, right? But they're joined because they're sharing elements. And another word is mutual, or another term is mutually exclusive. What's the term used to describe the elements not in a set? Would be the complement or just complement. I'd be fine with that. And there's that, I shouldn't have made it a bonus. It should have just been part of the question, but we'll make it a bonus because I said it's a bonus. Yeah.
I wasn't sure an answer because you didn't have N, A in the question. Like,
Here?
yeah.
Oh.
I wasn't 100% certain.
So
I assumed that's what you meant, but I just didn't.
So what, you didn't answer it?
I just didn't put anything in.
Students picking me apart here. Which is awesome. Like you guys are reading carefully, right? But what's over there? See, just,
Can I write it down this way? We're gonna put it.
Sure. Sure. I know Nick. I've taught him before, so I know he's an honest. So if that's what you were thinking, but you weren't sure, you get the bonus mark. Yeah. The thing is, some of these ACs, I don't have the original Word document, so I'm gonna have to see how I change that. I guess I'll just have to tell students, put a bracket around it and put an N in front of it. Yeah, so you got a point. You do have a point. But there would be no formula for A naught, right? It's just you would be able to state what's in there, but not formula, but yeah, I got it. So out of 15, potentially you got 16 out of 15 because of that bonus, right? So you just add that there. So we'll go to the very top and just make sure our name and last name is on there and make this out of 15. Okay. You can score 16 out of 15 potentially. Okay. And let's get the party started. All right. 32 people were asked what kind of television show they liked. You've got 13 people liked reality shows, but not contest shows. This, you almost can rewrite it saying 30 people like reality shows only. Okay, so this is basically saying number of people that like reality shows, but not contest shows. That's what 13 is. It's very helpful to go from rotation to context, right? 9 people like contest shows, but not reality shows. So that's really saying content, not reality. That's 9. 4 people like neither, so this would be your outliers. Okay, so let's draw a Venn diagram, and how many people, we'll find out how many people like both types of shows. This is kind of giving away that there's an overlap, right? I don't know if you tried to add this, but it doesn't add up to 32. However, these are, when you have the only sections, then it's not gonna really work anyways, right? Because we don't have the big picture here. So you just sketch it like this. You have your reality and your contest. And we know that the universal contains 32 people. 4 of them are outliers. They don't like either one of them. And so now the 13 actually comes in here, not up there, right? It's just this part right here that we're talking about. And the 9 comes in here. And this is where I was hinting towards earlier. If you look at the sections, this is the only one that's blank, right? You've got this number, that number, and the outliers. You can find that one. So if you want to call, this is basically the intersection between R and C. Okay, that's where it's at. So to find the intersection between R and C, I'm just going to go 32 minus 13 minus 9 and minus 4. Right? And I'm left with 11. 11 people like both. Am I looking at my wrong key? I am looking at the wrong key, right? It's not 11. I can just tell by the number 6, right? Sorry, guys. I'm looking at this key, not this one. Sorry. It's a different question. So 6 people like both, and so I would give you a mark for coming up. If this is all correct here, you get a mark, and then I give you another mark for figuring out how many like both, however you did it. If I asked you to completely fill in this Venn diagram, I would also want these numbers to be filled in. Today we're gonna just let it go, but you know that this is 6, right? You just figured out that this is 6, so combined, you've got 19 here and 15 here. So if it asks you how many people like reality TV shows, you would actually say 19, right? We just know that 6 of these, they also like the contest shows, right? So wording is key here. So 1 and 1. Okay, 2 marks for that. Next, I'm gonna switch back to the AC here. A total of 48 students were asked how they got to school. 31 drive the car, 16 take the bus. So you can tell this is not saying only or right, like it's just general. There might be an overlap. And 12 do not drive a car or a bus. So let's write the notation here. We could call this C, right? Number of students that drive a car, 31. Number of students that take the bus, 16. Number of students that do not do either one of them. Do you remember the notation for this? C union B not. That's how you refer to the outliers in that case. I want you to be comfortable going from notation to context and vice versa. So there we have it. You can do a quick check and you can tell you're going to go over 48. That check is very good when it's just car, bus, like it's giving you all the elements in that set. You know that there's a problem there with an overlap. So here we go. Draw the Venn diagram. My universal is 48. Outliers would be 12. This is car and bus. I know this is 31. I know this is 16. I don't know what the middle is just yet. So this is as much as I can do right now at the moment. I will not object to you figuring out and filling this in all before you answer. I will not care, right? As long as it's on this piece of paper. So I'm going to figure this out, right? N of C and B right now is unknown to me. I'm going to use pi for this. Pi. So we would go 48 minus 12, right? You always go universal minus outliers to then deal with the union of these two. So that'd be 31 plus 16 minus that, right? C union, sorry, and B. Okay. And so we can go, this is 36 is equal to 47 minus, we can call that x if we want to. Take away 47. Negative x is equal to negative 11. And so divide both sides by negative 1. X is equal to 11. And then you would just say, for now, you can just leave it like that because we're not answering just yet. We're filling out our Venn diagram. I would go back and just fill this in. 11. That means that this is 20. That means that this is 5 here. So when you have all those sections in where those two Venn diagrams or two sets are meeting, when you have all the sections, you're complete and you can start answering everything else they throw at you. Okay, so for B, how many students do not take a bus to school? How would you write this using notation? They're really asking for this. Wouldn't you say? That's what they're asking for. So I'm going to take my universal and subtract B from it, and that's how I get the complement. So you would go 48 minus B in this case is 16. Okay, so you have 32 students. You just know that they do not take the bus. Another way of doing this is put your thumb over where B is. This is set B, right? And then just add up what's left, 20 and 12, right? That would be 32. So that's another way of looking at it. C. How many students take the bus and the car? You've already done the work here. You just answer. That's fine. 11 students take both. D. A student drew a Venn diagram, explained two main errors. I would say missing the U, like the universal is not mentioned, right? The number of elements in U is not mentioned or included. And you can also, it depends on how you explain it, but I would say if you add up the numbers here, they do not add up to 48. I don't know if you did that check. Because this is 31, right? and this is, so it's 43 if you add this up, okay? The values do not add up to 48. Sorry, that's very, very small there. You can also say that not all students that bus are also driving a car, right? This is saying that all the students that have take the bus are also driving. They're a subset. That's not true, right? I would want a bit more of an explanation there. If you had said they're not subsets, like B is not a subset of C, I would probably take that. So let's give it some marks here, right? For the Venn diagram here, I don't need the reds necessarily filled in as long as you did everything else. I would just give you 1 mark there for that. I would give you 1 mark for B. And then for C, I would give you 2 marks for that because I would imagine that you did some type of work there and you just show me how you did that. And then for D, I would also give you 2 marks provided you explain the two things that are wrong with it. Okay, so 2, 4, 6. Right, so question 2 is worth 6. And then 2 for question 1. So we have 8 total on this for this AC. Total out of 8. Okay.